Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Eric with BobCAD-CAM. I'm part of tech support, doing the training and all of that, um, all that good stuff with BobCAD-CAM. Now, I can see that I've got the audio going and the video going. Let me know if you guys can hear me now and view my screen, and we can get started here in the next minute or two. Once everyone gets logged in here to view the webinar today, it'll be on 3D surfacing. So I'll be going through a lot of the 2D and 2D drawing, manipulating, and 3D modeling part of it, so that we can create the exact 3D model that you need for any sort of machining purposes. Or, as I just mentioned here at the top, if we we could save as an STL file for any 3D printing purposes, or we can save as a native BobCAD file extension .bbcd, so that we can save all of the information of the tool path for any sort of machining that we need. We offer milling, laser, plasma, water jet machining, programming for the lathe, and wire EDM as well. Also lathe for live tooling with our mill turn package. So if you guys want to let us know in the comments section, thank you everyone for letting me know that you can hear me there. And in the comments section, if you could let us know what sort of machining purposes you use BobCAD for, and that way we can know what webinar we can have for next time around. Now, it won't be Wednesday coming up the 6th, but it will be March 13th. So not Wednesday coming up, but the next Wednesday we will have our next webinar, and it will really pertain to what you guys, your guys' feedback. Make sure that we have our webinars geared to exactly what you guys are looking for there. All right, so we'll get started here. About 1 o'clock now, and we'll go through some of the 2D functionality first, and then creating 3D models from there, 3D surfaces. And I'm just going to go to our basic rectangle function first and create a rectangle here. Start from the bottom left corner, and I will make it, let's say 12 inches by 12 inches, a foot across on each side, so that we can make things easy here and cancel out of that. I'm going to click here in the CAD workspace and hit F as in Foxtrot on my computer to zoom to fit. That's one of our shortcut keys to be able to view our whole drawing and zoom to fit it on our screen. That's F as in Foxtrot to zoom to fit. And so we've got a basic square here, 12 by 12, and to create a basic surface here for any flat shape, I can go here to create 3D and go to planar. That's our planar surfacing function, where I can either window select like that, just drag a window across the box and click OK. And I can view the surface a little easier by clicking and holding on my scroll wheel to revolve around and see that flat surface I created with that 2D wireframe. I hope you guys are a little tech savvy or savvy with the CAD functionality here, because we're going to get into the UCS functionality next. UCS stands for User Coordinate System. That's found usually on the right-hand side with this tab that says UCS down at the bottom. If you don't see that in your screen here, you can right-click at the top, and you can open or close any of these windows on the sides of the software program. Your UCS manager is down here towards the bottom. With the green check mark, it's showing that it's open in your program there. And you can, again, hide or show any of the windows on the sides here to view that. So I can revolve around again by clicking and holding on my scroll wheel. And I can also look at it in an isometric view or at an angle by holding Control on my keyboard and clicking 7, the number 7 on my keyboard. So Control 7 is an isometric view, and Control 1 through 7 are all of my different views. So control 1 is my front view, control 2 is my, control 1 is my top view, control 2 is my front view, control 3 and 4 are my side views, all the way getting over to the isometric view of control 7. If you guys have any questions so far, please let us know in the comments section. I'll get to them towards the end of the webinar here and answer anything you have about any of these surfacing functions. So we have our planar surface, just a flat shape from any 2D wireframe. I'm going to undo from here at the top, click undo, and we have our 12 by 12 rectangle still. And I'm going to try to be pretty straightforward with what I'm doing here so that you guys can follow along. Again, I've just gone to create 2D with my rectangle function. My length and width of the rectangle is 12 inches by 12 inches, and I placed the bottom left corner at the CAD origin under option here, bottom left. Delete all of my selection there. And then go back to the cross-section curves. I'm going to select the top line again. And this is something that was brought up in a training of mine today, actually, that when we hold Shift, again, it deselects the line there. So in my cross-section curves, I'm going to click, and then you can see what's highlighting here is this end chain option, this box that I can select, and it ends the chain. It actually makes things a lot easier where I can just click on that instead of holding Shift and clicking at the end of my, my line there. So I have the two cross-section curves that I've selected. I can zoom in and make sure that the chains are going in the same direction with these arrows here. Now, for this one, it's not really necessary, but when you're doing more complex shapes, you want to make sure that both of the cross-section curves here and both of the rail curves are going in the same direction, or else the 3D shape can really twist on you if you're doing a complex shape there. So something to be cognizant of there. We have our cross-section curves. We've selected those two. We'll go down to the rail curves where I can click on that box to start to select those rail curves there. And I'm going to click towards the top of the arc here. And then again, to finalize, click on that box to end chain. And then over on the opposite side, again, selecting this arc towards the top of the arc there. And then at the top, selecting end chain to finalize that one. Now you can see the preview there. And you can click OK to finalize that surface function with the skin surface function. Please let me know if you guys have any questions with the skin surfacing. Again, I use the planar surface and the skin surface about 90% of the time with the 3D surfacing functions. And if there is different geometry, it really depends on the geometry of the wireframe here with other surfacing functions that we'll get into. Our next one that I sometimes use, if the skin surface function doesn't work for the 3D surfacing here, I'll go into the other smaller functions here, the smaller icons here, the 3 edges, 4 edges, and multi-sided patch surfacing functions. The 3 edges is just that, surfacing with 3 edges if it's sort of like a triangular type of wireframe there. 4 edges for something like this, if you have 4 edges to select from, sort of a rectangular shape like this. And we'll get into that one. The 3 edges and the 4 edges are going to be the same for geometry selection. We start by selecting this line here, for example, ending that chain there. So that's our first chain number 1 out of 4. go here and go towards the bottom of this arc, just to sort of go clockwise in that direction. I can highlight it and end the chain for that one. Go to the bottom, and that'll be chain number 3. And then go to the top of this arc, and that'll be chain number 4. So that is our surfacing function for 4 edges, the same thing same surface as we were to create with skin surfacing, just because this is a very basic shape. If we're getting into more complex shapes, again, sometimes the skin surface might not be uniform or might sort of have, sometimes it will actually create multiple surfaces and have a break in between. So sometimes when that happens, you can always go to 3 edges, 4 edges, or a multi-sided patch is for anything for more than 4 edges. And it's the same workflow as the 4 edges surfacing function. You just start with chain 1, just keep going around until you're finished there. It can be as many chains as you need for your multi-sided patch, but this one will usually creates multiple surfaces there. So you can see it sort of breaks it up into 4 different quadrants of your surface. That, again, that's a big reason why I don't usually use 3, 4 edges or multi-sided patch. Usually creates multiple surfaces there, which I don't usually want. I usually go with the skin surfacing. It's the one I normally use there. So after that, please let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, any other surfacing functions you guys would like to go over today specifically. We'll be getting into some of the other smaller icons down here under Create 3D. We'll get into they're separated rather than adding them together. Now, if you wanted to add them or subtract from them after the fact, you can go to Create 3D and go to Boolean. So Boolean, you can add the 2 solids together, or you with the Boolean subtract, you could subtract one from the other, or the Boolean intersect, which I don't normally use. You can create a solid model with what they are, with what is intersecting between the 2. So if you have any geometry that you want to sort of create an imprint of, or create for soft draws, things of that nature, you can use the intersect for that. All right, so that's some of the basic 3D modeling stuff. Let me know if there's anything that I haven't gone over so far that we can go over today. And we'll also look at the other miscellaneous 3D surfacing functions that we haven't gone over so far. That one's kind of okay. Let's down to 21. Yeah, so we've got our other surfacing functions. If you guys didn't hear the rail curves versus the other curves there, I'll show you that one more time under Create 3D. Our skin surfacing, our cross-section curves versus rail curves. So if you have any break in the surface, break in the geometry that creates multiple surfaces for your cross-section selection versus your rail curve selection, you can just reverse the order of operation for your selection there, and it should give you better geometry there. If you reverse this is my workflow at least. If you reverse the order of operations there of your selection for your rail curves and your cross-section curves, you can go into the 3-edge, 4-edge, or the multi-sided patch that we went through today. So thank you guys for sticking around so far. Let me know if you have any questions or any surfacing functions specifically that you'd like to go over today, that you specifically had questions on. but we'll go over some of the other 3D surfacing functions that I don't normally use, but we'll go into the revolve surface function next. That can be really helpful for lathe. So you can do any turning operations with that. And we'll get into that next here. I'll cancel out of this function. I don't have geometry here for that, but we'll go to a new file and we'll create a profile of a turned part, for example. So I'll go into create 2D. I'll create a line from 1 inch above the y-axis. I'll go into create 2D and then line. And then I'll go here from y1, x0, y1. So I'm just going up 1 inch, then going a couple inches over here. You can see I've got the length exactly at 2 inches. If you weren't able to sketch it at exactly 2 inches, you can go right here and change it to 2 inches to sort of follow along there. Let me make sure I've got the screen going here. And so I will create another line from 2 inches out. So this is 2 inches. I'm going to skip 1 inch and then go 2 inches out again. So I'm making sure that this is from 3 to 5. Yeah, this is exactly 2 inches, but I can make sure my start point is at x3 and my absolute coordinate at the end of it is 5 inches there. Make sure we got, okay, great, we got it refreshed there. Okay, so I can cancel out of that, and then I can create an arc at the center here by going from arc 3 points, going from endpoint to endpoint, and creating an arc here, and setting up the radius, the diameter or the radius. I'm going to type the diameter out at 1.5 inches, and then click OK. And it could be any sort of arc there, just as long as it's going from endpoint to endpoint. All right, there we go. Good. So we've got our chain here that we can go into create 3D and go to revolve surface. Now I can hold shift and click at the end for my chain select, or I can click on the first edge here and hold shift to finalize that chain selection here. Now, if I revolve around, I can see that my surfacing function only creates half of the turned part that I want. And I can see on the left-hand side, the reason for that is because my rotation angle is at 180. I can change it to 360 here to create my full revolution of the part there. That would be for my revolve surface function. And if I want to cap it off, again, I can go to planar surface, select the surface edge to cap the two ends. And then I can finalize the solid by going to the top under Create 3D, stitch surfaces to solid, and stitch all three of those together there to make a full solid. That would be our revolve surface function. Functionality as well. And it goes through a step-by-step process, your workflow of how to go through all of the CAD functions we went over today, and all of the CAM functions as well. And then when is it important to have surfaces stitched into a solid? Main reason would be for 3D printing. And for 3-axis milling, I guess you could say, but with the surfacing, I mean, really all you're doing is selecting surfaces in the milling, so you could do it for either one there. Let's see, do you guys have, let me know if you guys have any other questions there in the comment section. And thank you for checking out the demo or webinar today on 3D surfacing. We went over a lot of the functions here, the planar and skin surfacing function 3 and 4 edge surfaces, and multi-sided patch. We went over the revolve surfacing, the extrude boss, extrude cut, extrude curve, and extrude surface functions there. Boolean add, subtract, and intersect. Revolve surface for any turned part there. And some of the other functions, sweep, cross-section, ruled and swung surfaces. Again, it's just sort of the workflow. If you go to File, Help, and then BobCAD-CAM Help, basically opens up a basically creates a page there, which is basically a manual to the software program. I want to see my already done workflow. Oh, want to see your already done workflow. Yeah, good question, Mark. So if you have created any 3D surfaces and created 3D models, you can go to the CAD tree, which is that tab down at the bottom left here, and you will have different surfaces. So if I went into an extrude maybe one of my basic cube functions here and created a cube, at the bottom left under CAD tree, we have the cube function that I could right click on, go to edit, and I can edit my dimensions here, or in any of the other CAD functions, edit the data entry from the CAD tree there. So if you've created a surface after the fact, you can go into the CAD tree and change whatever you need to there. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. We'll finish up with let's see, 3D surfacing. We could take a look at the the sweep in the cross section. So I'm going to create a couple different shapes here. Make a circle. Make sort of a profile here to follow the line along here. So 3 different lines as a chain. Under the Create 3D, you can see all of the surfacing functions have shows the workflow here of what to select. So with your attachment point, you're selecting where you're starting here. Then your sweep profile and sweep path would be number 1 in the preview here, and then number 2 would be the path. If we look at the other surfacing functions cross section, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is where you're selecting all the different chains to create a curved surface. That's where you can see it in the preview. See it in the preview here. Ruled surfacing, where you select the top edge and then the bottom edge with number 1 and number 2 for the 2 chains. Swung surface would be your profile, and then the top to bottom profile for number 2 there. Those previews are really helpful with the 3D surfacing functions there in BobCAD. Let me make sure I can show my screen here. Make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, good question with the geometry there, Mark. You don't have it in the CAD tree for any 2D wireframe, but if you go into your select mode, you can double click on this circle here, for example, and it will go into the entity modify function to be able to modify any 2D wireframe, change the diameter of it here from 4 to 2, for example, and be able to modify the wireframe or modify any 2D geometry that doesn't show in the CAD tree. The CAD tree is for 3D models or 3D surfaces only. Yeah, great question there. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. Make sure I've got my screen here showing. Okay. So if you guys have any other questions, please let me know in the comments section. I'll sort of finish off with the help topics page again. You go to File, Help, and then BobCAD-CAM Help. It's basically a manual to our software program and a step-by-step workflow on everything we went over today. And then we also have BobCAD-support.com to be able to view plenty of training material of what we went over today, all the way forward to machining in the CAM package of BobCAD-CAM, and being able to work with other utilities in BobCAD here, evaluating for dimensioning and things like that, to create prints as well. And yeah, so thank you guys for viewing the webinar today. I'll give you back your extra time that we have from the webinar here, and please let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. You can message us at support@bobcad.com for any support questions, and we can answer anything that you guys have and help you out further. And again, with training material, that would be at bobcadsupport.com to be able to go over everything we went over today, view this webinar again after the live event now, and be able to look at other training material from starting BobCAD all the way up to complex machining there. Thank you for viewing the webinar today, and have a great day.